I'm going to go way back in our conversation and get a little granular here. It's a topic we hadn't talked about previously, and I think it is a real issue. And I can't remember who mentioned it. One of you mentioned codependence. Mm-hmm. So what is it, and how can it be harmful in dating relationships?
I think it can look like a lot of different things. The struggle to be alone as the partner of I don't want to be by myself, moving really quickly, whether that's sexually or just taking steps moving so fast, canceling plans to be together. So I normally spend like Friday night with, my best friend, but my partner's alone. So, and they've asked me to cancel plans, or they've made me feel so guilty that I feel like I have to cancel to spend time with them. So it's not even this overt cancel plans and come hang out with me. It's more of like, I'm going to be alone tonight and I'm feeling really sad and I can't believe you're not going to be here, or just some of that like verbiage that can create some guilt in the other person.
Which then can lead to other red flags like isolation and pulling out from other things like sports or other friend groups, things like that you wanted to go and do.
Right. Yeah, and it's so important to keep that sense of individuality in a relationship, even as an adult, of maintaining your own interests, maintaining your own hobbies and everything, and prioritizing self-care and doing things on your own. I think is a green flag for a relationship, of encouraging some of that behavior too, of go spend time with your friends, go spend time by yourself, like you've had a really long week. Recognizing those things is a really healthy green flag, I think.
And adding to that, Sarah Lynn, it's okay to be okay. It's okay to say no. It's okay to express your feelings, but it's also okay to make those changes. And change is hard for adults. Change is hard for youth. But also just expressing the feelings about what's going on is really important. The number one key is communication. And sometimes that can be a challenge. So we have to get over that hurdle to figure out how I can communicate with this individual, how I can be supportive, how can I get through and have a healthy relationship.
And healthy communication, right? Compromise, staying calm, being level-headed, or, I'm feeling really alone tonight, but I will hang out with you tomorrow, or things like that, of kind of coming to some
clear boundaries.
Yes,
exactly. Within the relationship.
That's good. Clear boundaries. Yes.
I think clear boundaries, setting what you're okay with and what you're not okay with, is really good. And I also think like you can't change a person. So you only have control over yourself. You don't have control over your partner. So if there's some things that they do want to change, or you feel like they need to change, if you're seeing a lot of negative behaviors, that's not your responsibility to change that person. Now you could say, hey, here's some resources for you, or kind of give them a little nudge, but you can't change that person.
Yeah. And even in adults too, oftentimes when adults are going to couples counseling, it's best practice that they do individual counseling first with their own therapist, and then they come together, right? Because we all have things we need to work on. Yes. And then let's come together.
And then let's work on us.
Yes. And I think kind of to your point too of, if that is your partner, like that's okay. If we need to like take a break, step aside, let them heal, do their own journey, and then come back together, because people can change. And some of these tactics of, communication, of like stonewalling, which is just like shutting down, like you made me mad, now I'm going to give you the silent treatment, or I'm just going to like leave your Snapchat on delivered, or you leave your text on read and I'm not going to respond to you. Like things like that can be really harmful. And then we're feeling guilt and blame for something that might not be their fault.
All right. Well, so we got some good green flags, though. Communication, self-care seems to be a predominant theme in what we're talking about right now. Clear boundaries, I think, is great. And then some red flags that we might notice if our
Chris,
friends...
I'm sorry, add confidence to that.
Confidence,
building confidence for the youth is really important.
Yeah, and on the converse, when we begin to see our friends or our kids or our loved ones' confidence taking a dive in a relationship, that's like, whoa, we may need to have a conversation about this.
Definitely.
Interesting. We've talked a little bit about social media. We talked about location tracking, and I don't want to just, vilify social media, but it's so prevalent,
Right.
and it's just a part of all our lives, and it's pervasive. And there are positive ways to deal with social media, which we've talked about on this podcast, and negative ways. And I think that in dating, there are some unique, just like what you're talking about with the Snapchat thing. What are some concerns with regard to social media when it comes to dating?
Give me your password so I can see, like, just make sure that, no one is, sending you a direct message or a DM. Like, no one else is sliding in your DMs. I want to see who you're following and who's following you. Are you following, other people that I also find attractive? Are you following your ex? All of those things, and monitoring the type of media that the
Why
other
did
person
you like
consumes.
this?
Right.
Yes.
Why did you like
did
that
you heart
person's
this?
post? Yeah.
Yeah.
What did that post
wow.
mean to you? Why did you repost this?
Yeah.
Things like that. A lot of questions.
Yeah.
Like what's going on? Sort of kind of like you're accusing me of doing something that I'm not doing.
Yeah.
So.
That scrutiny is really extreme. Like, I could see if somebody were on, whatever, Instagram, and somebody posts a selfie or whatever, and then a person's significant other responds and says, "Oh my gosh, you look so great," and just is so effusively complimentary. That might be a little, but little things you all were saying, like liking or a post or resharing. I mean, those are just small little gestures, and it's like the level of control and monitoring. It's sophisticated, and it's a little concerning.
Yeah.
I have something to add.
Yeah,
Going
absolutely.
a little further into that.
Okay.
But like with sharing passwords to phones and social media and things like that, something else that we're seeing that's more of like a threat, but like maybe photographs that we have of our partner that we may not want shared with the rest of the world, right? Or the rest of the school. And then using those photographs to control that partner's behavior. If you don't XYZ, then I'm going to release this photograph. So using those like threats and intimidation or wanting to have control, like you have to send me a photo. So those things.
And things like that, when you're adding pictures or anything that can be ashamed, embarrassed, youth can turn into wanting to suicide, different things like that. Like that is very, very serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just really important to be mindful of how the conversation is and what people are saying publicly.
Yeah. There's some serious things.
And it really stinks because social media is a really great way to connect with other people. And it's such a good way to build community. And I've had clients who they have experienced a lot of bullying at school, but they've built a really strong online community with others that they talk to, gaming, like they're on Roblox, they're on like World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, like they're building all of this community that really is bringing them so much connection. But then there's just this other side of social media that is so harmful. And I liked that you used the word monitoring because I think that's a good way to maybe bring up this to your youth or your young person of, hey, it seems like this person's monitoring what you're doing. It feels a little bit less threatening than this person is like harassing you or this person is, whatever verb you want to use that's stronger. So I really liked that you used that.
Good. What happens when they don't have this support system and they're like, I don't like this situation. I don't feel comfortable in this situation. What do I do? What do you tell them if they don't have that mature, strong support network to help them? How can they be helped?
Something that we do at Family and Children's and a really great job of, especially in our child programs, is bringing in that caregiver. So maybe that caregiver isn't not supportive or the youth doesn't feel supported by their caregiver and they're just missing each other. It's not that the caregiver is blatantly unsupportive. They're trying their best and they're just missing their young person. And so I think we do a really great job of bringing in the caregivers and kind of help coach them a little bit of, you know, when you said this, I wonder how that made your young person feel. Okay, what's something we can say a little bit differently that might catch that youth or that young person and kind of reel them back in? Because I think oftentimes the caregivers do want to provide support. They just don't know how. And so that's something that is really great about therapy, and something really great that Family and Children's and Youth Services do is bringing in these caregivers and helping them be a better parent and just maybe a more supportive listening ear, which is something that you touched on earlier too.
I think, and I'll add to that, I mean, just finding out, you know, what does that support system look like? Give me some names. Because youth have so many of them probably at school and they have no idea, you know. And starting with a counselor, a teacher, an art teacher, you know, what's your favorite subject? It may be math, okay. Because you will hear a lot from a youth. They'll be able to tell you a lot. We are going to find some resources for that youth and the family, because it's not just the youth, it's the entire family. Because that parent is probably lost or don't know the resources. So let's get them those resources.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And coaching the youth too on how to talk to other adults about this. Like it can feel really intimidating of, I really like my math teacher, but I don't know how to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Like how to start these conversations, but also to how as an adult can I check in with this young person? Because teachers are so observant. They see everything happening in the classroom, and they might not know how do I start that conversation? What's my port of entry with this one child that might be struggling?
Young people in the moment, they may not see that they have a network or a support system. It may not be apparent to them. And my question was, what if they don't? And now I'm like, really, kids do have, you know, a support system. They just may not realize, as you were saying, Keisha, like it may be a teacher or a counselor or you know, there are people around them that they may not be, you know, wearing the counselor, you know, banner or anything, but they are absolutely willing to help out and support them.
I think too, like peers are part of their support system.
Definitely.
So recently we were in a class and one of our educators said that they had a student, we were doing like a who's a safe adult, who are trusted people, you know, in your world, identify some people. So if something does come up, you kind of have that in your back pocket, right? Of like, okay, I could go to this person or this person. And somebody in the class was like, I don't have anybody I can go to. And the peers in that class were like, you can call me.
Right.
You can call me.
Right.
I'm going to be there for you.
Yeah.
Or like my mom will help you out. Like there's going to be peers, and then those peers, maybe their support system can then help you out. But I think peers are a big role when it comes to youth and their own support systems. So
All right.
peer support. Yeah.